It's always a pleasure to be here at the bar, especially when it's time to say TGIF. Thank God it's Friday.
Yep. It is Friday.
My name is Shola Rogers.
And my name is Dolupo. The one and only. I'm the warm welcome to the bar today. It is Friday. Anyway, like I said, welcome to the bar this very wonderful afternoon. There's a lot that we're going to be talking about. If you're just joining us for the very first time, welcome. This is where we talk about everything sports, politics, entertainment, and, life issues, basically everything in between. And, of course, today is not going to be different as there are a few things that we're going to be touching on. Briefly, we're just going to breeze through. We know that the World Cup quarterfinals starts today. I'm guessing it's starting. Not I'm guessing. I think it should start immediately. We're done with the bar. So, yes, we definitely, that is definitely happening. Also, there's a lot of entertainment stories that has come up between yesterday and today. There are a few things that we're going to talk about on that as well. Coming down to Nigeria, there's a lot of political stories. But before we get to political stories, we know that fuel scarcity is one of the issues. Yesterday evening, a directive came out and kaboom, looks like... there's a lot of conversation of why should people do or what makes... in fact, I even saw one where it was said that... the DSS is making empty threats and all that. I saw that headline earlier, and now it looks like it's not an empty threat after all, as looks like some people are beginning to what's the word now? Some agencies are beginning to comply with that directive. So yes, we're going to be talking about that news. Broke, there are a lot of things back and forth that we're going to be talking about today. So sit back, relax, enjoy. If you're listening to us or you're watching us, you're listening on the website or you're listening on any other platform or on our app or wherever you're watching us from, or other YouTube or Facebook, just enjoy, and let's take you on today's ride.
That's what it is.
So I think that quickly what I was going to just talk about before we go into in depth, because there are actually a lot of entertainment stories that we're going to be talking about. But before we get to that, let's just quickly go through and just take it out of the way. For people that do not know, the World Cup quarterfinals is starting today, and at 4 p.m. West African time, Croatia is playing with Brazil. It was also said that Neymar, that had been having, that actually had injuries and all that. For he played last the last game, and he has actually been named for this game as well. So yes, I think it's going to be a very tough one. Another very interesting game right now is at 8 p.m. Netherlands and Argentina. We will see, and we know that it's a knockout stage. So whoever loses, you lose, you snooze, or more like you lose, you go.
Something like that.
So yes, we're going. That is that in that angle. Also, still talking about sports quickly. Where news broke yesterday that United States WNBA star Brittany Griner was actually released yesterday by the Russian government in a in an exchange,
a prisoner
swap between both countries in the UAE. And it's very, and this particular thing has now brought up it has brought up a lot of conversation. Let me put it in that regard. Like, is it right? Should it have happened? Should it not have happened? Should there have been another person that he should have swapped? Should there have been that other person? On both sides, there's been a lot of conversation around it. So I think it's worthy of conversation. So let me just put it out there. So yesterday, and in fact, it was said that her plane has now landed in the US. In the UAE yesterday, there was a prisoner swap between Brittany Griner, who was actually sentenced to 9 years in prison for possessing vape cartridges with cannabis oil in it, and she was exchanged with Victor Bout, who was sentenced in the U.S. since 2012 and is supposed to be serving a 25-year jail term after he was accused of arming rebels in some of the world's bloodiest conflicts. In fact, it is said that it's alleged that he has a nickname by the name Merchant of Death. So that's like the basis of the conversation. Now, my first question, did you think that it was necessary?
Do I think what was necessary?
The prisoner exchange.
Well, we already analyzed this thing yesterday. We spoke about it at length. And I already said what I said. But for the privilege of people who didn't watch it yesterday, it's the games that governments play. It's not really, at the end of the day, it's not really about Griner or Brittany Griner or the Merchant of Death or whatever. It's more about the games that the governments play. And if you're a tool caught up in this, or a pawn, that's what you are, a pawn. I also ended up saying that when you're traveling to people's countries, do a lot of research and find out, their cultures and their rules and laws, because you might run foul of it and find yourself in a very serious situation. In the U.S., they have a lot of states that have legalized the smoking or the use of Indian hemp, and other, they say some are for medicinal purposes or whatever, or recreational purposes. In other countries, it is still illegal. It's the same way with same-sex relationships, and protesting and all of that. In some countries, it is completely not allowed. Well, so you need to learn this thing. So for me, it's deeper than the prisoner swap. It's about the history between Russia and America.
And the United States.
Everybody knows that the Cold War is not really over. They're still always at each other's necks. There's the war between Ukraine and Russia that's ongoing. So I get it when people react, because we see things differently. So the bigger picture is that America and Russia are still at it. That's the bigger picture. Now, an American citizen was under arrest and sentenced to about, I think, 9 years or so in prison for something that was not a crime in her own country, but it's a crime in the country that she went to. Then the president makes a move after calls were being made by several people for government to intervene. Then they intervened and they got her out. Now, everybody's talking about how they should have prioritized someone else, a marine or a teacher or something. But nobody's looking at why the other country wants someone called the Merchant of Death.
Exactly, which is
the
issue.
No. You asked me a question. Nobody's talking about how a country wants, in exchange, the Merchant of Death. A man that has been tagged the Merchant of Death. And when he is released, are they going to put him in prison also? Are they going to prosecute him for crimes that he might have committed on Russian soil? Or are they just going to let him go? Isn't that what?
Isn't that concept, doesn't that now make it more scary?
It doesn't. It just makes you see that it's the games that governments play.
That's the point.
And people are pawns.
So in my own angle, if we're going to take it from that angle, then maybe exchanging her for someone that is called the Merchant of Death, I think, is a lot. But
we should have added this to our scroll. We're going to go this in depth on it. It's important for our.
It kind of what's it called? It kind of now looks like you said, yes, she was a pawn in this that was caught in it, but we seem to forget that as much as we do not like it, according to Russia, she committed a crime.
Hi, Francis Odom is saying hi from Dallas.
Hello.
You're still in Dallas, I presume.
So if she actually committed a crime, that's where I'm coming from. And I think that maybe the US should have seen that if this is what these people want to do, how do you exchange someone that had vape cartridges with someone that is called the merchant of death? And then you feel that that was a fair exchange?
The way your reasoning is okay, right? Good to know. Your reasoning is fine and it's right. There's nothing wrong with what you see, even if I do not agree with it. In my opinion, you're being transactional now. Maybe they should have looked for another person that committed a deeper crime, then they can exchange him for or her for the merchant of death. But that's not how it works. How it works is that a citizen of your country, in fact, the fact that it's just vaping or whatever that she's been jailed for 9 years for is the reason why you should actually do what you can
find
to
a way
out.
to get. Which I'm not doubting
you know,
that. My issue there is that how come it now has to be.
God bless you.
How it now has to be someone that is termed the merchant of death.
Excuse me. Let's take a comment from.
Oh, please go ahead.
Francis Odom on YouTube, and he says it's simply a life for a life exchange, my dear.
Okay, so what happens to Paul Whelan? Who?
Look, you guys.
These people have been there longer than she was.
That's not the thing. You see, that's not the thing. Now, again, Russia must be willing to deal. Russia must be willing to deal because you want to do a swap with them, and they look at the person that they're trying to give to you or get back, and they say, no, we're not interested. Now, people forget that when terrorists and criminals and people do things, they always need the publicity from the media. They always need that noise and the hype. Okay, so maybe Paul Whelan is not as popular as Brittany Griner. Mm-hmm. But our popularity brought a lot of attention.
Okay. And
it is enough for them to trade off that. Okay. Not that the US is saying Brittany is not as important as this person or this person. No, that's not what they're saying. But when they go ahead, diplomatically, they talk across those channels. There are channels that are open across and say, look, we need to have this person back. And they say, no, you give us that person. Now, no, we're not going to do it.
But isn't it a very dangerous thing to now release someone that is called the merchant of death?
You see, the reason why, I think the reason why you're going on about this is because you've not been following these diplomatic exchanges. Yes.
I'm not saying saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
No. If you've been following it, then you would understand that this is how it happens.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen like that. I'm saying I do not think that it is right.
You're not thinking it right is right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that
is right.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. See, I'm just saying that I do not think it's right.
There's a thought that crossed my mind last night, and when I heard that the leader or the general overseer of the Winners Church said something in that line, it was similar to the thought that was just running through my mind. And right and wrong are relative. I'm going to link it up with that statement later. Right and wrong are relative, especially in the diplomatic world and especially in governance and politics. Okay.
I don't think so.
If it's not relative, how is it that someone can hold a vape in America but can't in Russia?
It's the
Is there a global Dolupo? It is relative. It is relative. Is there a global law?
Laws are not right or wrong. Laws are not about being right or wrong.
Okay.
I don't think laws are about being right or wrong.
I'm about to be schooled now, so.
Laws are about how the country feels about a certain
feelings.
Yes.
Laws are about feelings.
When you really look at
and feelings are not relative.
when you really look about it, our houses
do you
representatives and the Senate and all these things,
where you're contradicting
these
yourself?
lawmakers is about feelings. But when we break it down,
Okay, do you see where you're contradicting?
I'm not
yourself
contradicting myself. I'm saying that laws are about feelings, is not about right or wrong.
now? And feelings are global.
Yeah.
So the feeling that we have in Nigeria is the same with what they have in the US.
What I mean by feelings are global is that everybody has feelings depending on whatever it's
Relativity.
Exactly.
And that's what I said. I said laws. I said they're relative.
Laws are relative. Right or wrong is not.
Dolupo.
No, I don't think right
Dolupo.
or wrong is. I feel laws are relative, to different country.
I don't understand what you're going on about now.
Laws are not particularly right or wrong.
Laws?
Yes. Laws are not particularly right or wrong.
I don't know. I'm lost.
I'm just saying, when it comes to laws is about how lawmakers feel. And then they just make the laws. Most of those laws, left to me, they are made on a whim. Not because they're checking, okay, how does this affect?
Dolupo,
take, for example.
Dolupo, you're not making sense. I'm sorry that I have to say this.
I think I am.
I said that these things are relative.
You said that right and wrong is relative. And I said no.
Because
laws are relative, but does not mean laws are right or wrong.
Are we talking academics now, or are we talking real life here?
Real life. Okay, laws are not right or wrong.
So if they are not relative.
Laws are relative. Right or wrong are not necessarily mean. It does not mean because something is a law does not necessarily mean it's right or wrong.
So what does that have to bear on the relativity of it?
Relativity of laws?
It's still the same thing. Do you see the point?
No.
Okay. I think we're just going to go on and on without... And this is a live show, so it's not just going to go out well
Maybe
for anybody. Because this is a hill I am willing to die on. You asked
your opinion.
Me, always been and always will be. You asked me a question, and I'm telling you that someone committing a law in one country is not a crime in another country.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's not relative.
I said laws are relative. I said it like 4 times. Laws are relative does not make it right or wrong.
Jesus Christ.
Does not mean it is right. Does not mean it's wrong. Which goes back to why I said right or wrong is not relative. Laws are relative. Right or wrong is not. That's it. Anyway.
No. There's no anyway here. So when you make a law, when a law is made, there's no right or wrong.
It's not about right or wrong.
What are laws about?
It's about how the country feels about something. Doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it right.
So when they say it is wrong in that country, it doesn't mean it's wrong.
It's most likely not wrong or right. It's just about the law. That's it. That's how I feel.
That law, about the law, as at that time that is made, and it's passed, and
it's a law.
Is it
we
right?
do not have a choice.
Yeah, but it's wrong.
It's not right or wrong.
It has to be one or the other.
No, it can't be one or the other.
There's no gray areas in
there are a lot of gray areas in laws. Okay. Oh, the law of gray areas.
Show me one, please. Show me one law with a gray area.
This same issue, why it is, why vape cartridges are legal somewhere and it's not legal in another place.
And that's what I said about it being relative.
Exactly. Laws are relative.
So what are you coming at me for?
I didn't come at you. I said does not mean it's right or wrong.
So when a law is made, wow, we're doing this on live TV, man. When a law is made in a country, let's be specific.
Yeah.
The Russian law about narcotics or drugs says that Brittany Griner committed a crime.
Yeah. Doesn't mean she's right or wrong. It means that she broke a law. You don't say she's wrong for what she did. What you say is she broke a law. And that's it.
Wow. That's not it.
That's how I feel about it.
Your feelings?
Yeah.
Your feelings which you are entitled to?
Yeah, they're valid. I think they're valid.
Again, which again goes back to what I was trying to say, because everything she's done now is just to support what I was saying.
Nope.
At the end of the day, the U.S. government has saved an American citizen.
And they probably have released a very dangerous criminal into the hands of Russians.
Now, whatever Russia decides to do with the so-called merchant of death is on Russia.
No.
It's on Russia.
I don't think it's on Russia. I
Being
think
a hardliner,
it is a little
like
bit on the
you,
US because they
is also-
chose to release a choice.
You know, I'm trying to make a point though, but it's fine. So you're being a hardliner saying because it's someone who is said to be a gun runner or a criminal or whatever, and there's no weight of criminality involved in these exchanges. It's basically about I have what you want.
Which
you
I think
have
that's
what
the
I
problem.
want.
Why is there no weight of criminality? This person is literally how would I say now? Is literally a danger to countries, not even to a person. So, yeah, this person could literally do all sorts of things to countries. Is actually probably a danger to countries. That's why I'm saying that whatever it is that him being released can actually affect millions of lives of people.
Whatever happens afterwards, if we say that there is no right or wrong for argument purposes, then releasing the guy is not wrong also, based on your position that there is no right or wrong, it's just feelings. So at this point in time, the Russians feel that this guy is their guy and they want him, and now they have him, and based on Dolupo's position, there is no right or wrong. So there should be no argument.
But anyway, we're going to continue this conversation because
there's no right or wrong.
Oh no, I never said that. I never
What
ever
did you
ever
say
said
in specifics?
that. I said that laws are relative, and because something is a law, does not mean that it is right or wrong.
Yeah,
I've been saying that.
So which law says that the person that you are saying shouldn't be released should not be released?
There's no law to it. That's why it's relative, like you said. It is relative. Laws are relative. Does not make it right. That's what I'm saying.
So Francis Odom says that dude can never leave Russia again. I agree.
He does not have to leave Russia. We know how these things work. He does not have to leave Russia to do what he does best.
Okay.
He does not have to leave Russia.
You seem to know more about it than me, so
he is a convicted criminal. I actually did a bit of reading about him. He does not have to leave Russia to do what he does.
Okay.
And he's actually like when he says someone is a dangerous criminal, very dangerous.
All right.
That's how I feel though. But anyway, she's been released, and we definitely will see how this pans out for her family. This is obviously very, very, very good news on that part. So let's move on quickly from that, and let's go on to something else that is very interesting, and it is where coming back to Nigeria. I think we had talked about it for a few days now about the Naira Redesign. I think we talked about it at length also.
Before
yesterday.
you move on, Francis Odom says he will be watched by everyone from now on for the rest of his life, all his transactions. I'm sure.
Amen.
I'm sure we know that's how high these things are, but let's argue for arguments.
Amen.
Purpose.
We'll see. Anyway, now I know that we talked about the Naira Redesign a lot, back and forth yesterday. But then, so now the CBN has come out to say that in the past few weeks that they've announced that there's going to be a Naira Redesign and all that. First things was they're saying that banks have all the monies that they want to exchange with, that they're just waiting for December 15th, which, if I'm right, that's about 6 days from now. Now, they're also now saying, which is the news part of this story, is where they're saying that they have received through banks 1 trillion naira from citizens of Nigeria and has gotten back into the banking system. So my question first is that with the new announcement, would we say that this has worked?
I'm going to read a few lines from the CBN.
Okay.
Evidently, currency in circulation has more than doubled since 2015. This is 2022.
Okay.
Rising from 1.46 trillion in December 2015 to 3.23 trillion in September 2022. Statistics as at September. And according to them, this is a worrisome trend. But it's obvious that
Please go ahead.
It's obvious that leading up to that, there was already a high volume of currency in circulation.
Okay.
Then, as soon as the announcement was now made that they were going to change currency, it increased. So, if they're saying that they've gotten about 1 trillion.
Please, how much of this money, how much of the money was in circulation in 2022 or 2021?
Yeah. As of 2022, according to the CBN, 2.73 trillion out of 3.23 trillion currency in circulation was outside the vaults.
Okay, so
outside
now
the vaults.
they're saying that in the past few weeks they've already retrieved 1 trillion of that 2.73 trillion. That's about 40 to 45%
of the currency that is in circulation.
Currency that is in circulation. And in a few weeks,
that is supposed to be in circulation.
In a few weeks, they have gotten that money back.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So we would say this currency change thing is making sense.
It's obviously working because that is the only explanation for the sharp increase in the monies that is making its way back into the banking system. If 2.7 trillion naira in a country where people are complaining there's no money for this, there's no money for that, and the people who are complaining that don't have access to funds are more than the people who are not complaining.
So where's all that money going to?
So who are the people who have stacked up 2.7 trillion naira? And now this is naira. The people who have access to this naira also have access to foreign exchange. You can know it. It's obvious now. So now they don't want to lose out on their, because it must be ill-gotten wealth. You can't sit on money if you have made it legitimately.
It makes sense, And there was something that we're talking about yesterday that you had been making fun about it for the past few days, and I think that then you said something else, another scenario today. I think one or two other scenarios, which I think that maybe is worth talking about.
Oh yeah,
and basically, I know that you had said it earlier, which I didn't think about it. Yeah, you had talked about how money being sprayed will reduce, and it didn't click to me before. And I remember that for years on end now, the CBN always goes on about you shouldn't spray money. Yeah, we say crime is this, but I really never seen anybody being arrested for those things.
Yeah.
Those things still happen. You are not supposed to sell the naira, which we see happen.
They still sold it at the weekend.
Jonathan, all those things you see all those things happen. But the interesting part of it is that because there isn't a lot of there isn't a lot of cash if CBN goes through with all their policies. There a lot of, would I say, crimes will be stopped in it just on its own because there isn't available cash in the first place. Also, you had talked about policemen, some policemen, which we know that it's probably happened to virtually everybody, collecting money and all that. And then, we've heard about, even remember the issue of SARS, that they will take people to ATM and tell them to withdraw the money that you have and all that. I'm sure that's not going to happen, especially maybe if you're someone that you have already maxed out your 100,000 naira for for the week already, and then somebody asks you to go to the ATM. Oga, I don't have any money. There's really nothing you can do. So at times, some of these things are really not targeted and I like what you had said. We had talked about it. I said it's really not targeted at the regular people. It's the little things that we overlook. That's where a lot of these things are targeted at. If we go on and on and on, there's so many instances where a lot of things will be stopped in their tracks. We had talked a few days ago about kidnappers, about a lot of fraudulent activities that are done with cash. But when you can't even provide, you can't even get the cash, how even as companies, for you to even withdraw some certain amount of money or from cash and all that, the kind of requirements that you need, how I think that bank MDs are going to be very, very busy these days. Because now that they have to be approving.
Now they have to earn their salary.
I'm sure that a lot of those things would probably now cashing some amount of checks will probably take days now.
Yeah, we totally are stuck on cash-based transactions, and it's shock therapy now that we're going through. We're going to go through it. There's going to be some withdrawal syndrome and some fallout and all of that, but the ultimate goal is for us to move away from this cash-based economy. You know, like when they first announced the cashless transaction thing a few years ago, if only the CBN had not fallen off and they had continued in that mode,
we
would have gone past this stage by now.
Yeah.
But of course, they fell off, and they fell off badly. And while we're having all of these discussions, one of the things that just keeps hitting me is how Nigeria is such a unique country. This is arguably, and I stand to be corrected, so I'm not saying I'm an authority, but this is the only country that I have seen where you buy your own currency in your country.
Yeah.
And it's this funny thing where you're going to a party, and you are going to spray the money. You know, in America, they say they make it rain. You know, mostly in strip clubs and all of that, or in the movie, the videos, in the music videos. But in Nigeria, it's a cultural thing. Like at parties, we're spraying from it. We're spraying money, but the monies that they spray are crisp notes that are not in circulation. Yeah,
you go to the bank does not have crisp notes to give you. But you get to a party, you see a regular person has so much and is willing to sell to you. And which in the whole idea of it is actually a crime. And
if that has gone on for years, this is my own fear now with the new plans to restrict the flow of cash in the country. Bankers, how much do you trust them? How much do you, as an individual, now I'm not talking about the CBN that has brought the idea or the government that is pushing it, but how much do you or do I trust bankers that they're not going to circumvent the system one way or the other?
Very true, but I feel that especially monies are moved from people's accounts to give people cash, I honestly feel, and then you know that now there is a certain amount of money that CBN is giving banks. I think that is going to be more stringent, especially when we know monies are being moved in and out of accounts. It's probably going to be easier to track, to know, okay, as a banker, why did you move this amount of money that was not meant to be moved out in the first place?
So the reason what you're talking about now is monitoring, which is one of the core jobs of the CBN. But with the manpower and technology that they have, do you really think? I
think, like you said, I think that it should just be a technology-based thing. Literally, what they're telling us now is that if you're not making an electronic transfer, there is literally a physical embargo on everybody's bank account. That's what you're saying. So, and we've seen these things. Okay, take for example, you have a regular account, or maybe like a regular savings account. And this happened to me before. Like when I was in university, I opened a student account. And then I think a few years down the line, I was still using that account and it was working. Then there was some certain amount of money that was more than the limit that could enter that account, but because it was literally a student account, so they kind of don't expect that the student will have that kind of money in the account, and immediately the account was blocked. That to me is technology. There is a physical embargo on this thing, and recently I'll use the example of, remember the news that broke that a few banks were sanctioned because they still did crypto transactions. I'm sure the only way they could have traced that was with technology. So all I think CBN needs to do is use technology in your own favor. That's all.
Reason why I raised that is that we know that some people are benefiting from.
Oh yeah. From this, the people things. That these parties, people that you talking about, to the bureau de change, there's so many people that you don't get. You want to buy dollar, but you don't get it in bank, and then even the bankers will tell you, go to this person. We see all those things happen from time to time.
How sincere this is me putting them on their toes.
It's a very valid.
How much of the monitoring are they willing to do? And I was having a discussion with my sister earlier, and she was like, they definitely need to employ more people, because even if you're going to put technology to work for you, you
need people to monitor. Even banks, we're talking about yesterday that they need to expand and all that. Yes,
more people will have to be captured in the net now. More people will have to be banked. They're going to have to open bank accounts and all of that. Again, they are giving out licenses to one or two electronic platforms. For instance, MTN has a license to bank.
So those things would definitely come into play now.
It's now that those people really enjoy the licenses
I think
that they got.
This is really going to help a lot of banks, because what that tells us is that it's more customers. Really.
And again, if you really intend to withdraw over the counter more than the amount, it's not impossible.
It's
but it's just going to cost you more.
And then it's costing you money. It's costing you a lot of time. There's a lot of stringent things that you definitely need to go through. But we'll see how this works. Honestly, I really, really, really hope that CBN knows what they're doing and then go through with this policies quickly, and they go through with it finally, and then it works for Nigerians, because Nigerians having a better life is really the bottom line at the end of the day. So now, talking about another thing that is affecting Nigerians, news broke last night, yesterday evening actually, that the Department of State Services had issued a 48-hour ultimatum to all stakeholders. This was including the NNPC, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NUPENG, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, IPMAN, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, and Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, depot operators and others, that they said that they're launching a nationwide operation on saboteurs, and there's no reason why there should be fuel queues in Nigeria. So they're issuing a 48-hour ultimatum that fuel has to be in the country. However everybody wants to do it. And remember that we talked, as this thing came out, there was a lot of, how is this going to happen? Where is this going to happen? Do you understand? There is a lot of there was a lot of back and forth about it. In fact, there was even a party. This was issued by the DSS spokesperson. Now, this morning there was a human rights lawyer, Femi Falana, had actually been on TV this morning, where he described this ultimatum as an empty threat.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how, that once it's Christmas every year, that there's always like an artificial supply of fuel, but I know that had stopped for a few years. And You know, they're saying that he's basically saying that DSS does not operate under any law in Nigeria, and then there's nobody to call to order, and that it's just an empty threat, and that who are they going to arrest, and back and forth, which I feel that maybe a lot of people had that kind of argument. But who would have believed that now the NNPC has now released 1.9 billion liters of PMS after the ultimatum was given? Wait, not done. NUPENG, which is also one of the agencies, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Workers, has now directed its members of the petroleum tanker drivers and others involved in distribution of petrol to be at their duty post round the clock to ensure unhindered distribution of fuel across the country.
Yeah, understanding how what Mr. Falana was trying to say, he was talking about the Constitution and how it's the job of the police, to be in charge of internal security and all of that, and that the DSS is set up by a military decree and all of that. That's how a lawyer should talk and analyze. But the part that everybody has picked up, although he made the statement, was about how it was an empty threat. He also pointed out how there was a time someone imported toxic fuel into Nigeria, who was arrested, and what happened. I know that there was some arrests made and some issues came up, but really and truly, do we know if the case was concluded in any form? But I also know that for someone like him, with his experience in law and in activism and even in politics, he would not make such a statement that the DSS issues empty threats.
But he did.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm saying that someone with his experience would not, except he wants to spark up some kind of debate or some kind of discussion. We all know, especially, Nigerians should know that the DSS
yeah, not your meat.
It's not to be played around with like that,
Okay.
They have a very powerful network, and I'm sure that they had information
for them to come up with
to have come out, to say, if you guys don't release fuel, this, and it wasn't even 24 hours. The news broke in the evening yesterday.
And then this morning, everybody, so maybe it's really not an empty threat after all.
And I want to say thank you to the DSS, except the NNPCL, we say it's not them that I don't care. But I want to thank them because you see some fuel station attendants are becoming very braggadocious. The Bugatti is too much.
Now, all of you were back to square one.
They will be begging us again. Yeah, please, sir, buy from me. You people have turned yourself to demigods.
Yeah.
Because of fuel that we want to use our money to
buy. Unfortunately for all of you now, DSS.
Please, thank you, Mr. Uncle DSS. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry you don't have to like what I said. But me, I'm happy.
Do you get? It actually.
Bukola Midubi says yesterday afternoon fuel was released. Afternoon, you see, so I'm sure by this time tomorrow, the whole scarcity thing will be gone.
Yes, thank you very much. God bless you too. Anyway, I just wanted to put it out there. I'm not sure it's an empty threat, and I wanted to see if DSS warns you. Maybe you should take those warnings seriously. Just put it out there for anybody.
We shy away from focusing on our real problems. We know that we're importing fuel. The importers are saying it's forex that is their problem or one thing. But that forex did not lead to strike except when it's close to festivity. You people should be.
You people should fear God.
Fear God. It's too much now. People are really going through a lot.
Anyway, so let's move on from that and let's move on quickly to a bit of politics. And a few days ago, where a lot of people, what was on everybody's lips was the interview the speech that the APC presidential candidate had in the UK in Chatham House, and then his BBC interview after that. Yeah, which was obviously was on a lot of people's lips. Okay, before we continue, Bukola Medubi says, I was insulted last week Saturday. I just drove away to avoid insulting anyone. I agree with you.
I can relate.
I agree with you. Let's just move.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
I can relate. Hey.
Anyway, now the Chatham House, Africa, has now invited the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi to come and also address a few people in, I think, January 16th.
Yeah, January 16th is the date, and it is what they do at Chatham House. They like to have a discussion, provide a platform to listen to people's ideas and plans, and
create a forum for people to
also help project the message across, because it being there means that it's like a global
stage for everybody to
media briefing of sorts, and your story gets amplified. The world is becoming a village, like they said, and
and the honest truth is that we know that Nigeria is a very, as much as you say they're not behaving like giant of Africa, we know that basically what happens in Nigeria affects Africa. These days is beginning to affect the whole world. What actually happens in Nigeria? We've seen how oil, gas, a lot of things, a lot of countries, they actually need Nigeria as well, the way Nigeria also needs. So I think that Nigerian elections is really, really a world event. Let's be honest with ourselves. So I get it. So it makes sense that these this kind of platforms want to talk to presidential candidates, and we cannot say that we don't. There are few more prominent names than they are some other names. So we're definitely looking forward to how we analyzed one person's interview. We definitely be looking forward to how to analyze another person's interview as well. And still before we leave the issue of Peter Obi, we know that yesterday he was at Canaan Land, where is supposed to be the venue of Winners Chapel's convention ground, and there's been a lot of talk about it back and forth.
For the uninitiated, or for those who do not understand, it's one of the biggest churches in the world and in Nigeria. And every year, towards the end of the year, most of the churches have their conventions and their programs where people are there for about a week or they're about praying and doing many things to move closer to God and pray and all. And I think it's actually called Shiloh.
Yes.
And of course, Peter Obi was there too.
Okay, now there's this visit has brought about a few conversations. First things first, Bishop Oyedepo had come out yesterday too. He had made a few declarations where he says Nigeria needs a deliverer and not a leader. There was also one where he had talked about how he would rather burn his PVC than vote. I'm like, okay. Then there's a lot of people's back and forth about how maybe he had endorsed or he did not endorse the Labour Party candidate. But there's also another conversation about how the Labour Party presidential candidate seems to be at every what's it called? Seems to be at every major Christian gathering since he became a presidential candidate, which we didn't see a lot. I saw a tweet earlier today that Peter Obi was at my church today. He wasn't there last year. I hope to see him there. It sounded really sarcastic, So, and I'm wondering, in fact, I remember having a conversation with a member of the church who's my friend. Actually, like, oh yeah, that he didn't come. That yes, that he came yesterday, and that she's expecting to see him in another person's church today. Now, my question with that is it beginning to look like it's a campaign strategy?
Well, that's what people are insinuating. That's what some people are driving at the experience over the weekend. It's already a week. Wow. And the experience, he was there. He came in and he left before the end of the program. And a comedian who is always at the experience, at least I've seen him there more than once. Akpororo actually did crack a joke about how Peter Obi was attending those events and everything, and he got a lot of tongues wagging. His supporters did not like the joke at all, and they did not hide their words on social media. They came for Akpororo a lot. But before Akpororo said that there were people who had been tweeting and putting it out that, oh, why is it that he's always, at this church events and all of that? And I say to myself that it's not a crime for him to be at those events. It's not a crime for him to.
But it's not something we see a lot. With eating used to.
I'm not done. It's not a crime for him to attend this and attend that. It's not. It's really not a crime. Nothing stops the other contenders or contestants
from attending these events.
You get. They're not going, is their choice. His choice is he wants to be at those people's events and he has been there. He has gone there. However, people are trying to say that it's more of a political stunt than him attending those events for the spiritual purposes of it. He was in Warri, Asaba, for different of such events too, in Kaduna, in Abuja. I think some time ago it was in Edo or Delta or something. So people have said a whole lot of these things. And it's always based on facts and figures. It looks like, yes, he's attended all these events. However, there is a law against using religion in politics. There's actually a law against it. And if that law is invoked, you don't want to run foul.
You don't want to run foul. There are things that one needs to be really careful about.
I hope that none of them has crossed that line. And I hope that it doesn't come back to bite anybody in the behind.
Okay.
But having said that, they should also attend. If any of the other guys decide to go, Showore, Kwankwaso, they won't chase them now.
Yeah,
they will also be welcomed. So that's the way I want to leave it for now.
But you have things to say later.
Yeah, if people are saying that next year, all the event that he has attended this year, he should attend next year again,
so that we know whether he's president or not.
Yes, win or lose, so that they will know that it wasn't about the politics.
Okay. We'll definitely we will get to that point. And then quickly before we go, there's a bit of entertainment news that we're going to talk about. Sadly, Canadian extremely sorry, before we get there, Bukola Medubi says yes, he is free to go to places. Yes, it is not a crime. Oh yeah. It's not a crime yet. Yet I think that's where the thin line what SR was talking about is not a crime yet, but we definitely will see how that goes. So talking about singer Celine Dion, she made a video yesterday where it was said that she's been diagnosed with stiff pressing syndrome.
Interesting. All right, if you can still hear us,
I think it's still, we're still on.
We had some kind of power surge, even if we're on our
anyway, let's just we're actually on. So going on about that, Celine Dion was diagnosed, or she's announced that she's been diagnosed with stiff pressing syndrome, and it is a very rare incident. Also that as rare as it's like 1 in a million people, and now she is supposed to start her tour in February, and then she's moved a European tour and all that it affects everything, even to her singing. And I think really our hearts just goes to her. I hope she gets better. I hope that even if there is no cure yet, there's probably ways to manage these things and manage it properly, for her to live a very long and fulfilled life.
It's when I saw the news yesterday, I saw it on Twitter. and I couldn't watch the video. That's how scared I was. But on the thread that I saw the news, there were actually a few people in Nigeria who actually confirmed that they had experienced the same, or that they actually been diagnosed of the same syndrome, stiff people's syndrome, and they talked about how difficult it was. One person was talking about how he was screaming in the middle of the road, and everybody was looking at him like a mad person. But they would never understand what he was going through, and how you have to sit still or stay in a particular position. And another guy listed all the drugs that he had to take.
Wow.
He has like a cocktail of drugs, diazepam and other things. For
just
him,
to keep it on a wrap.
He has to sleep, he has to... when he listed those drugs, I really felt for them, and my heart went to them. And it's sadly incurable, at the moment, like Dolupo said and pointed out. And honestly, I would not wish this on anybody. I hope that somehow there's a cure. But even before that, I hope that she finds some kind of remedy
and so called. Okay, quickly.
And not just her now, everybody that is
yes. Quickly, before we go. I don't know if everybody had heard or seen this. The new documentary about the Sussexes, really, the Duke and the Duchess of Sussex, in the person of Harry and Meghan.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conversation around it. They've after really leaving the royal duties and moving to the United States, there's been a lot of interviews. They had an interview with Oprah. They had one with BBC. Now they're having a six episode documentary on Netflix. And now my question with this, quickly before we go, is that we see a lot of these things happen, and then there's a lot. They keep interview. When are all these interviews going to stop?
Well, apparently none of that can be answered by me, because I don't work for this guy.
Okay, so what do you think about the interview? Let me put it like that.
Not necessarily the interview. I just feel that at times when you have a say on something and you've passed your message, you should move on. You get, but it looks like they're actually milking it, and it's worth a lot. There's no official statement from Netflix.
Yeah. Some
people say that they have collected as much as £100 million. Some are saying that it's about $100 million. But if it's £100 million or $100 million,
it's still a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of business that they're involved in there. So I think they're probably looking at it majorly from the business angle, and again maybe their own opportunity to build their own dynasty or their wealth. But I really feel that look, the stories have been said. Everybody's heard it. At times you don't want to overstretch situations, and this looks like it to me.
They're doing
I'm not sure.
I personally feel they're doing too much.
I'm not sure I'm going to watch it.
I'm not sure too. I really don't think. I don't think I'm going to.
I wish them all the best. Yeah. I pray that they have all the
for people that did not want to be in the spotlight. You are constantly being in the spotlight. That's the way I say. But anyway, that is all we're able to take today on the Boombar. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will be back again on Monday. I got it right this time. And with another wonderful edition at the bar is 3 p.m. West African time on boomradio.com.ng. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend ahead. And enjoy the World Cup.